So the government's already preparing for the Trump administration to take over. And no, I'm not even talking about the Biden administration here. That would be way too logical. I'm actually talking about the government in Canada.
On immigration and border security.
Texas will be given full support, and I will deploy all necessary military and law enforcement resources to seal up the final section of border. You know, we built over 500 miles of wall.
Speaker Dade Phelan.
I voted for President Trump twice for president. I'm gonna vote for him a third time. I think he's going to be the nominee.
That Trump's the very likely nominee, and the only way the Republicans can defeat Joe Biden is by being fully unified.
With 9 Republican primaries between now and Super Tuesday on March 5th, when Texas primary elections take place, chances are Trump may be the sole Republican candidate in the race.
As it seems like they're already incredibly worried that the former president may somehow reside in the White House yet again. But it's not like Canada is free of problems. I mean, they've been having a lot of power outages lately, as well as huge issues with electrical vehicles as well. And to be honest with you guys, some experts believe that it would be more economically sound for both countries to kind of work together, you know what I'm saying? However, their Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, he isn't keen on this idea. Now, I wonder why a guy who works so well with the World Economic Forum is so worried about Donald Trump.
I think one of the really important things for any Canadian government is to continue to work constructively with whatever American administration is in place. There's no question that we made it through the challenges represented by the Trump administration 7 years ago for 4 years, where we put forward the fact that Canada and the U.S. do best when we do it together, when we're well integrated, when we recognize the prosperity that's created on both sides of the border. That's going to continue to be our approach. Obviously, Mr. Trump represents a certain amount of unpredictability, but we will make sure we're pulling together and preparing for whatever eventualities.
Unpredictability, you say? Well, if unpredictable means going against the green agenda, something that the Trudeau and the World Economic Forum wholeheartedly support, then I guess yes, Trump is definitely unpredictable. In fact, he's so unpredictable that these Davos elites, these unelected leaders, they see him as a huge threat for their green initiative. No wonder Justin Trudeau doesn't want him back in the office. But you know what? Before we get any further, why is Canada so interested about whether or not Trump wins the presidential 2024 election or not? Shouldn't they be more focused on their own problems? But no, if you checked out some of the stuff that they're putting out right now, it seems like Trump is actually their biggest problem. Take a look at this. So it says right here that Canada fears the impacts of another Trump term. Now, I know that my content goes way out to Canada, so if anybody is from Canada, you guys tell me, is Trump really your biggest concern right now? Because I know Alberta actually had a little bit of a scare with its power grids, right? It's actually gotten to a point where they were relying on renewable energy, but they weren't getting much of that too. Because the fact is that renewable energy is still at an infancy stage. But to look to it to power an entire nation, I don't know about that yet, guys.
Albertans got an emergency alert Saturday night asking them to immediately reduce electricity use to essentials only. The alert came a few hours after the Alberta Electric System Operator declared a grid alert due to extreme cold, high demand, and low imports.
We were concerned at one point that we were going to run out of emergency reserves and have to go to rotating outages.
There was a significant drop in electricity demand almost immediately after the alert was issued. It was ended about 2 hours later.
Oh, and by the way, if you guys are appreciating the content, definitely hit the like button. Your likes and your shares of the video definitely helps the channel out a lot. I totally appreciate you guys. But yeah, even experts believe that they need to get back to the drawing board in order to provide a nation full of renewable energy power. And of course, since their power wasn't at optimal levels, warnings of rolling blackouts were announced. Now, if you go ahead and mix this with the cold weather that we had, and well, you got a really bad experience waiting for your citizens, basically. And the same could be said here, right? We saw how EVs froze out in Chicago, where Tesla owners basically couldn't even move their cars, even though they had been charging them for hours on end. Some even stayed overnight, but they got nothing. Now, this does not line up with what former President Trump is planning if he happens to win again.
If elected president again, what is the first thing you would do to help bring down the cost to make things more affordable?
Drill, baby, drill. You know what that means. We have to save this country. Our country is dying. Our country is being destroyed by stupid people.
One more question.
Now, with the term that he used himself, it's obvious that he's aiming to drill for more oil right here at home. And if we produce more oil domestically, then there's a huge chance that, this positively affects our expenses and will hopefully probably push down some inflation, at least gas prices. Cheaper gas could mean a stronger economy, especially for businesses that are transportation focused, which also includes the goods that we buy every single day in Walmart, Target, Aldi, Publix, you name it, right? Do you guys think that that would help the American people here? Now, besides this whole green initiative and how the two don't necessarily see eye to eye, some analysts believe that there's long been this big rift between the prime minister and, of course, the former US President Donald Trump. One of these rifts started when Trump was still in office.
And Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau can be heard apparently laughing about how President Trump threw off their schedule by talking to the press for so long during their meetings. And Trudeau described the reaction from President Trump's advisors when he unexpectedly announced that next year's G7 meeting will be at Camp David. This morning, Trudeau acknowledged the leaders were talking about President Trump.
Last night, I made a reference to the fact that there was an unscheduled press conference before my meeting with President Trump, and I was happy to take part of it, but it was certainly notable.
After the video clip went viral, the president was asked about it and took a shot at Trudeau.
Did you have a video of Prime Minister Trudeau talking about you last night?
Well, he's two-faced.
Well, Trump has always been known to be a pretty straightforward guy, you know, shoots from the hip. This now brings me to how Trudeau and his cabinet is preparing for another Trump presidency. Now, I can't confirm that they're actually meeting for this specific reason. However, I do know that they're actually meeting to kind of help improve Trudeau's numbers in the polls, and that the handling of Trump is part of their talk. Now, this has some analysts saying that the critique of Trump is probably Trudeau's way of trying to rally the Liberal Party behind him, which means that this might not be about Trump's reelection, but more about Trudeau's reelection as his popularity wanes down.
72% of respondents said Trudeau should step down now. Even among those who are Liberal supporters, 33% think Trudeau should go.
I've never seen a number that high for a prime minister, probably since Brian Mulroney back in 91, 92, and that's what this really reminds me of.
And because the Liberal brand is now so closely identified with Trudeau, Trudeau's falling popularity has pulled the party down.
So yeah, this is why some experts agree that the Canadian Prime Minister is just kind of looking for another distraction, something to keep the minds of Canadians busy. However, isn't this a little bit too much? Because I've heard some experts actually say that it could dwell into the realm of election interference. We don't want any more of that, do we? Now, if you think back to the 1963 elections in Canada, you would remember that there were rumors that the late President John F. Kennedy actively contributed to the defeat of the then Prime Minister John Diefenbaker. Now, with all that being said, this isn't me just saying that Trump's going to win. On the contrary, actually, it's Trudeau and his party that's predicting it will be the future given their narrative. But it looks like almost everybody is against him winning. So at this point, you know, we can only wait and see what happens with the Republican primaries. What about you guys though? Are you for Biden? Are you for Trump? Let me know your position in the comment section down below. Now, as far as I'm concerned, I'm gonna do my best to keep you guys informed and updated on everything that's going on around us, especially events that can impact our lives. If you haven't already, I just want to thank you so much for hitting the like button and for sharing this video. Your shares and your likes mean the world to me. I really appreciate you. Appreciate you guys hanging out, and I'll see you on the next video.